families. So this is our morning to-do list that I have submitted into your newsletter. And basically it's a checklist of things that need to get done before circle time starts. Of course, you can also make one for what to do after circle time is over. Or you can tweak the calendar that we've given you and make that calendar kind of like a checklist of things that need to get done during the school day. So here we go. I've got a picture of a little guy waking up, and you can laminate this and use either a dry erase or a wet erase marker. Now, dry erase, you mark and then you can erase. Now, of course, it has to be laminated. If you don't have access to a laminating machine, you can use packaging tape to tape over the paper, and it works just as well. And I really like these to-do checklists and give the child the autonomy to check off what they've done. They have more control and a sense of empowerment when they do it on their own instead of us hounding them. You can say, hey, well, what do you have to do? Go check your checklist. What's next? What did you check off? I did it in order to how our family typically does things, but your family might do things a little different. So feel free to switch things around and change it. So let's go through the morning routine. You wake up, you use the potty, you throw your pull-up in the trash. A lot of kiddos are still in pull-ups. If that's not the case for you, you can get rid of this part. We wash hands, we get dressed, we put our socks and shoes on, and then we eat breakfast, then we brush our teeth, we comb our hair. Now, I put this in here because some of you do have your kiddos comb hair. My boys never would comb their hair, so I never even bothered. And then I threw in a chore. Now, your child's chores might be different, but I really think it's important to start teaching chores at this age. They're really into it. So you can change this out for a different chore, and then we wash our hands and sit down for circle. And that's when you'll log into the Google Hangout and we'll start our circle time. I want to show you what I did for my older boys. Now, this is Diego's to-do list and his afternoon to-do list. As you can see, it's well loved and used frequently. The reason, sorry about this, so can't open this. So this is a dry erase marker. You know, after he gets dressed, you can just erase it and use it again for the next day. My issue with dry erase markers is that if you have the checklist accessible to your kiddo, they might brush up against it and it'll get erased. And sometimes it gets confusing for some of our kiddos who you know, need a checklist to keep those thoughts organized. So I had been using for a while a wet erase marker, and it looks like this, and it will dry, and then you can't, let's see if it's dry, you can't erase it with your finger. You have to get a wet wipe and wipe it down and start all over. For Diego in particular, I didn't do the linear checklist. He seemed to do better with, he picks up, you know, wherever he feels he wants to. His chores were to set up the potties and to help me set up the cots in the morning for your kiddos. So sometimes he would wake up and wait for breakfast to be ready, so he would do those things first. So we did it out of order. So you could do whatever you want for your kiddos. I did expect him to pack his own lunch in the mornings. You can do that with your kiddo and have them do that in the afternoon. I think that's a really great way to keep them, you know, busy and taking care of themselves. And then if you have older kiddos, you know, your kiddos that can read, this is another great way to keep them organized. And then I also have an exercise tracker for Jackson and for Pablo. Diego's exercise tracker is built into his afternoon checklist. Over here, he has to exercise at least for an hour before he gets to do any free play. So yeah, so that's how you could use these visual checklists. Our kiddos are still learning how to execute tasks, and sometimes having so many thoughts in their mind is really overwhelming that it's nice to have them on paper. And we do the same for like social emotional processing feelings, making sense of friendships or incidents that have happened. It's a lot easier to see them visually, but rather than sorting them out in our minds. All right, well, if you have any questions, let me know. Bye.